Good evening out there, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Here we go. Good evening. I am so excited to have you all out there today, whether you are viewing from the Bahamas, Jamaica, Canada, Nigeria, all over the United States. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My YouTube fans, Facebook fans, Periscope fans, hello, hello, hello. I am super excited. I cannot believe we are at the end of 2020. This has been a year to end all years. It has been amazing. We have had a lot of stuff going on, but I have some guests tonight, and they're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about this year. So I have a very nice gentleman starting us out today, and I'm going to introduce him at this time. And it is Antoine J. Brown. He is a husband, father, author, television co-host, business owner, and leader in his local church. For nearly 3 decades, he has worked in ministry, changing lives by teaching principles that are sure to bring people to a deeper understanding of their purpose. He has provided ministerial assistance to churches both in the United States and Central America. He has a passion to help others buy their time back by overcoming fear, killing every excuse, and always with a bit of humor. So thank you so much as I introduce and you get a chance to enjoy Mr. Antoine Brown. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. All right. So you ready for me to go ahead and get going?
Go ahead.
All right. All right. Well, I have a special assignment tonight, and I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned from the pandemic. And first of all, I just want to say thank you again, Sister Deborah Smith, for this opportunity to share, basically from my experiences, from my heart, from just a place where God has really provided so much opportunity for me, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here. This has been a very trying year. And I'll say it that way, very trying, very challenging year, because a lot of people were faced with very tragic situations, loss of life, loss of loved ones, and loss of livelihood. And so it's just been a very trying year. 2020 will be one of those years that we will love to forget. And but what I want to talk to you today, though, is about what I've learned as a result of what happened in 2020, as a result of the pandemic and everything that we've gone through, from social injustice to, an election year where there was a lot of hatred on both sides. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, it was just hatred on both sides. But I really want to talk to you about what I've learned from the pandemic, because this virus that we got hit with caused so many challenges to the infrastructure of our country, how we do things, how we work, how we flow. So a lot of people were really shaken up. A lot of people were really didn't know how to respond to it, and still don't know how to respond to it. And as we're going into 2021, we need to go in there with a different mindset. And so I want to just impart some things into you that I was able to glean from this year. All right, y'all ready? Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, number one, I'm saying number one is not necessarily in a chronological order. I just numbered these in order for me to stay anchored. But number one, the first thing that I'll say I learned in this pandemic is the importance of knowing my purpose and my value. The importance of knowing my purpose and my value. And it's important, and I have purpose and value because I really believe that they're both vital. They're both important. I believe that Miles Monroe said this, and those of you from the Bahamas, full well who I'm talking about, very powerful man of God. Miles Monroe made this statement. He said, "Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable." I remember I was a young man when I first heard that statement, and it resonated with me at that time. But it probably wasn't until this year that it really began to uh, grow up in me. And I mean, like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And when I think about that statement, and I've shared that statement before, I've ministered, and I've talked about this particular statement, this principle of purpose. But this year, it had a different meaning for me. It had a different meaning for me. When you think about what it's saying, where purpose is not known, when I don't know the purpose of a thing, I'm likely to abuse it. I can't tell you how many times I had something that I needed to take care of in my house, and it was out of the reach, out of my reach from standing on the floor, and I needed to get something to step onto in order to get to what I was trying to reach. And I can't tell you how many times I grabbed a chair. I just grabbed a chair, stood up in the chair so I can get up there and take care of it. And that chair is not designed for that. There's, the ladder is designed for that, or a step stool is designed for that. And I can tell you, over the years from doing that, you can just see the wear and tear on the chair because it's being used for something other than what it was purposed to be used for. And that happens. Unfortunately, that happens with us as people. We get into situations where we're either using ourselves wrong, or we're allowing other people to use us, and it's abusing us because we're not being used the way God intended for us to be used. All right, so there's another statement that's powerful, and this was by a lady named Frances Brown, and I'm a little biased because that's my mother, Frances Brown, but she made this statement, and I was probably right around the same age when I heard this statement. She said that everyone on the planet was born to solve a problem in the earth. Everyone on the planet was born to solve a problem in the earth. And I believe that. I believe that. And I believe that that comes down to purpose. Knowing what your purpose is, knowing why you're here, knowing what problem you're supposed to solve, and then doing it. Walking in that purpose and not allowing anything to pull you away from that purpose. And so that's a powerful thing. So let me tell you why I said I learned the importance of purpose and value in this pandemic, in this particular year, because a lot of things were shut down, including my job, what I do at the church. And I'm also a minister at my church. I'm also a PK. And for those of you who don't know what a PK is, it's a pastor's kid, or pastor's child, or pastor's son. And so what it did was it caused me to realize that I was waiting for something to happen in order for me to fulfill my purpose. Let me explain what I mean. Uh, as a pastor's son who believes, or who believed strongly, that his legacy was going to be in the church as a pastor, that I'm supposed to carry the torch. As a person in that position, I allowed myself I put myself in a position to where I didn't believe that my purpose could be fulfilled until I stepped into that position, or into that call. And due to a lot of the things that happened this year, particularly around, it was probably around April or May when this really hit me, and I was just in prayer, and allowed God to speak to me, and he showed me something. He said, uh, you know, I gave you a purpose to fulfill right now, not when this thing over here happens, or when that happens. What I was allowing myself, what I was doing was allowing a situation or a circumstance to control when I was able to fulfill my purpose. And so that was one of the big things that I learned. And what I saw was a lot of people were in a similar position. They were in a similar position. And that's one of the things that I believe I'm called to, is to help people to get liberated, to understand that you need to chart your own course. You need to make your own way, and not allow somebody else to dictate, or to tell you how you need to move, when you need to move, and how you need to move. And so one of the things that I saw was that there were a lot of people who were jobless due to this pandemic. And And when their job shut down and they couldn't go to work, they couldn't do what they were normally doing, what they were accustomed to doing. They shut down, and it's like a turtle retreating to its shell for protection, not knowing what to do, not knowing what's going to happen. And and I said to myself, man, what can I do to help people to understand they don't need to be in that position? And first of all, they can get out of that position, and that they should put themselves in a position never to end up there again. Never rely on somebody else to dictate to you what your purpose is and what you're going to do, because nobody knows your purpose like God does. And if you want to know what it is, ask Him. Ask Him. The Bible says, "He who lacks wisdom, let a man ask of God, and He will give to you liberally." And within that wisdom is your purpose. It's finding out what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it, and how I'm supposed to do it. That's found in the book of James. So if you want to know what your purpose is, ask God for it, but He will reveal it to you. And then there's the value part of it, the value piece. If I don't know my value, I will allow somebody to spin me any kind of way they want to. And that's a dangerous place to be in. And so one of the things that I saw in this pandemic was a lot of people were lost when their job said, no, we can't open, no, you can't come back to work, no, we're going to let you go. They were lost. They didn't know what to do. The suicide rate went up. I really believe that one of the reasons that suicide went up is because people just didn't have any hope anymore. They didn't know what they were going to do. They relied too heavily on something else to dictate to them who they were and what they were supposed to do and what their value is. All right. So that was one of the first things that I learned in the pandemic. Number two, the next thing that I want to talk about is the art of the pivot. The art of the pivot. Pivot, this word right here was probably one of the most overused words in the pandemic is the word pivot. And I get it. I get it. And a lot of times we think about the word pivot, especially in this pandemic, it referred to people who were functioning in a certain capacity or a certain way, and because of the pandemic and because of the restrictions, they had to learn a different way to do what they were doing to get the successful results that they were looking to get. And that is part of it. That is part of it. I think that's the goal of the pivot. But I thought it was really interesting what the pivot is and what it does. I think it's important for us to understand and know what it is, because some of us still need to pivot. Some of us have not made the pivot yet. And so I want to talk just for a second about what that is. It's an interesting word. It's an interesting concept. But really, just kind of define it. It's a pinpoint or a short shaft of the end of something which rests or turns. So it allows you to be able to rotate. It allows you to be able to oscillate or to turn, and to just go in a complete circle. Now, when I think of the word pivot, for me, I played basketball since I was a little kid. And in basketball, they teach you the 3-point stance. They teach you how to use your pivot foot. They teach you how to establish a pivot foot, what you do when you have to pivot. And so in basketball, and I don't want to bore you with a lesson on basketball. Some of you understand the game, some of you may not understand, but just a quick lesson. In basketball, the only way you can move freely on the court is by dribbling the basketball. If you pick up your dribble, now you are in a position where you have limited things that you can do. Before you dribble the basketball, you got at least three options. You can dribble the ball, you can pass the ball, you can shoot if you're in a position to score. But once you dribble and pick up that dribble, now you're down to two options. You got to shoot it or pass it. Whatever is the best option for the team, you got to shoot it or pass it. Now, what happens is in basketball, once you pick that ball up, you can see what's in front of you, and then you have your peripheral vision. But when you understand that you have a pivot foot, that changes the game. As long as you think you can only see what's in front of you or in your peripheral vision, you're limited in terms of your options and what you can do. But once you understand you have a pivot foot, and the pivot foot in basketball is when you plant one foot, whether it's your left foot or your right foot, you plant that foot, and then you use that foot as your pin or as your, the thing that you stick down in there. So now you can oscillate, or now you can rotate. You can go in a 360 degree. You can make a 360-degree turn as long as you don't lift that foot off the ground. But now you have a better panoramic view of all of your options. You're not just limited to what's in front of you or what's in your peripheral vision. Now you can just plant that foot, and you can look. You can completely do a 360 to see what all your options are. And when you have that, that's a powerful thing, because now you're not limited by just those two options based on what's in front of you. You can see what's behind you. You can see what's above you. You can see what's underneath you. You can see every conceivable angle of where you are. It changes, it broadens your perspective. And this is a powerful thing. I want to give you a quick story about how powerful this is. One of the things that I do also is me and my wife, we own boutiques in the city where we live in here in Flint, Michigan. And they're brick and mortar stores, where we expect customers to come in and purchase things, and that's how we take care of things. That's how we make a profit. And when the pandemic hit, we went through a shutdown, which meant that we had to close our doors to our store. Nobody could come in, no customers. We were not able to make money through people coming into our stores, which was our chief primary way of making money. And so my wife and I had a meeting about it. I mean, we went through all kind of scenarios. We were in that position, standing there, and we were looking forward and in our peripheral vision. And when we only had that range of view, our options were very limited, almost to the point where we were wondering, should we just shut the thing down? But then what happened was we had another conversation. And in that meantime, my wife discovered that she had a pivot foot. Oh, come on. I didn't mean to get over here and preach, y'all, but my wife discovered that she had a pivot foot. She said, wait a minute, I'm not just limited to what's in front of me. I'm not just limited to my peripheral vision. She noticed that she had a pivot foot, which meant she could just plant that foot and turn all the way around in a 360-degree angle. She could see what was in every conceivable direction from where she was standing. And what she found as she began to look around was that there is a thing called social media, Facebook. She said, I'm going to get on Facebook. I'm going to start a group, and I'm going to get on Facebook, and I'm going to sell the same stuff that I'm selling in the store on Facebook Live. And that lady, man, that beautiful lady, I hope she's watching. I'm telling you, she's a beautiful lady. I can't. I'm sorry. I got distracted for a minute, but I thought about her. But what she did was she did that sale on a Thursday night, and in about a half hour doing that sale, she made more money in a half hour than we would have made with all three stores open in that day, in that entire day. That's how much she did. And when she discovered that changed the game. That changed the game. A pivot will change the game for you. When you can pivot, it'll change the game for you. It'll set you up to where you have an advantage that you never knew you had before. Here we had this thing sitting, we were sitting on this particular type of opportunity the whole time we've been in business with the boutique for almost 5 years. 5 years. Facebook was around before we opened. We had this opportunity to do this, but we didn't see it until this pandemic hit. See, sometimes tragic situations, things that happen, things that come down on you, things that seem unbearable, things that seem like they're going to just rock your world, you can learn from them. You can learn from them. And that's what we did. That's one of the things that we learned. We learned the art of the pivot. Now, my particular pivot had to do with me making a decision. I said, hey, my father's in good health, and as far as he's concerned, he's going to do this until he can't do it anymore. So I had to make a decision. I had to pivot. I said, okay, well, I can't, I don't believe God wants me to wait to help people, wait to do the thing that he's called me to do until I'm in this particular position. And that's what I've done. I tell you what, man, my life has felt so much more fulfilled. I've been able to help people. I get people calling me. I see things that, I mean, people are chiming in on things that I'm doing. And it's just a powerful thing to know that you're doing what you're purposed and designed to do. All right. All right. So let's move on here. Number three. Number three is innovative thinking is essential. Okay. Innovative thinking is essential. I might be talking to a lot of old heads right now when I say this. And in a lot of ways, I was an old head. There's a lot of things that I didn't understand about social media, about the way things were shifting, how things were shifting. I was a little behind. I needed to get up to date. There's a lot of stuff I had to learn, a whole lot of stuff that I had to learn that I never had the desire or interest to learn. But I understood that moving forward, this is the way that things are shifting. And if I want to stay with it, I gotta get on the bandwagon. I gotta catch this wave while it's going. All right. So you have to you have to be innovative in your thinking. It is essential. That's another one of those hot topics or hot words. Essential in this pandemic. If you're not essential, you can't work. Innovation is essential. If you don't have it, it's going to be almost impossible for you to work moving forward and produce something that will make you successful. And that's just the way it is. And listen, I'm telling you, don't get mad at me. Just receive it and then go with it. All right, go with it. I promise you, you'll be thanking me later. All right. But what is innovation? Innovation is something new or different that's introduced. Okay. It is the introduction of new things or methods. All right. Now, here's the thing about innovation. Innovation is not, it's the introduce, listen, it's the introduction of new methods. Okay. It's the introduction of new methods, not necessarily changing what it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily change the outcome or the path to the outcome, but how you get to the outcome. Okay. It changes that. So there's some things that we're doing that are antiquated or old or outdated that we need to replace with new methods and new concepts. And that's really simply what it is. I remember early on when the pandemic hit and everybody had to shut down, even at that time, even churches had to shut down. And I remember there was a lot of the churches who were already streaming live and who were already familiar with Facebook, who had IT people in place and social media gurus already in their churches. They really didn't miss much of a beat at all. It was just like, okay, well, we just can't come in the building, but we're still going to have church as we know it. And but for those churches, unfortunately there were a lot of churches, man, that were not with it prior to the pandemic hitting. So there was a learning curve that had to happen before they could even get on. And by the time they got on, unfortunately, a lot of people who might have been able to have been with them ended up going with somebody else. And see, that's the danger of not understanding that innovation should be an essential thing. That's the danger of it. You can get left behind, you can get left out, you can miss a lot of opportunity. You can get to a place where you're just sitting on the sideline watching everybody else succeed, and you're not even able to get in the game. Innovation keeps you in the game, and not only does it keep you in the game, but it keeps you a viable asset in the game. Like they need you. They need you. When you understand innovation is essential and you are an innovative thinker, when you're in that position, they need you. They need you to take the final shot of the game. They need you to be in the game. They need your presence. Even if you're used as a decoy, you're that important that the defense is going to hone in on you, that somebody else is going to be open. All right. So that's what innovation does. It doesn't just put you in the game and keep you in the game, but it makes you a viable asset in the game. All right. So that's innovation. Listen to this. John chapter 10, verse 10 says, "A thief comes to steal, kill, and to destroy. But I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly." All right. That's what this pandemic did. That's what coronavirus did. It came to steal. What did it come to steal? It came to steal my it came to steal my dream. It came to steal my dream. It came to destroy my dream. It came to kill my dream. It came to kill. It came to steal my hope. It came to take away my opportunity for success as I knew it. That's what it came to do. But look at the last part of the scripture says, "But I have come that you might have life, and that you have it more abundantly." What I love about that verse is there's no condition in there. There's nothing in there that would suggest that, okay, he didn't say the thief comes to steal, kill, and to destroy, and I'm gonna let him run his course. And after he gets done running his course, then I'll come in with a life. If you make it, you know what I'm saying? If you survive through him going through his course, then I'll provide life. No, it didn't say that. It didn't say that. That verse lets me know that whether or not it lets me know that it doesn't matter what the thief is doing. I have come to give you life and give you life more abundantly. And I really believe that one of the things that helps to provide that life is innovation. Innovation. God gives us innovation. I remember talking about this, and I heard somebody preaching on the tithe one time. When you pay your tithe, when you give your tithe, the tenth part of your increase to the Lord, it opens up the windows of heaven's blessings over your life, and you don't have room enough to receive. And what they said was, what comes out of that window of blessings is witty inventions, innovative, creative ideas and concepts, wisdom from God. So we're looking for money all the time, but God is saying, hey, I'm going to give you something better than money, because I'm going to give you something that will produce money. I'd rather have something that will produce money. If I had a choice to have $100 or something that will produce money, I can get way more than $100 with the thing that produces the money. And so that's what innovation does. It provides that opportunity to produce and to expand, because you're not limited based on where you are. All right. Let me keep going. Now let's talk about some characteristics of an innovator. All right. So let me just give you some characteristics of an innovator, and you see if you can locate yourself in these characteristics. An innovator is imaginative. That means they possess the ability to see beyond what is present to their senses. They're not limited by what they see or what they don't see. Okay, let me say that again. An innovator is imaginative. They possess the ability to see beyond what is present to their senses, and they are not limited by what they see or what they don't see. One of the most powerful things that God gave us is imagination, because an imagination is a powerful tool that helps us to paint a picture of our future. Oh man, it helps us to paint a picture of our future. And if we can paint a picture of our future, that means that it's doable. That means that that means that God is saying, hey, you can have that. You can have that. So an imaginative person possesses that ability to see beyond what's in front of them. They're not limited, they're not held back. They can see beyond it to a brighter future. All right. The next characteristic is they're courageous. They possess the quality of mind that enables them to abandon their normal manner of doing things, to explore new possibilities. They fear remaining the same more than they fear the risk of change. That's the thing right there. That courageous person is at the point where they're saying, you know what? I fear staying the same. I fear staying in the same position, staying in the same rut, more than I fear the risks that come with change. So once you get to that point, you're done. You're done. You're tired of status quo. You're tired of being average. You're tired of not having enough. You're tired of feeling almost controlled, like in the situation that I discussed earlier. Those people in the pandemic, once their job shut down, they didn't have any other options. Well, the courageous say, you know what? I'm not going to be limited by this anymore. I'm going to go forth and find what is in my purpose, and just go ahead and open that thing up and become everything God designed me to become. All right. So next thing is they're diligent. They're diligent. They're not. I mean, I'm sorry. They're diligent. They are constant in their efforts to accomplish tasks and assignments. All right. They're not lazy. They don't sit on projects. They don't procrastinate. They don't wait and wait for anything. They just go ahead and get the job done. All right. They get an idea or a concept, they grab it and they run with it. They don't hold on to it. They don't discuss it with other people to find out, bounce it off people to see, hey, you think this is a good idea? No, 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 no. If it came to them, especially out of a moment of prayer or them seeking God as to what they're supposed to do, they trust that it is God and they run with it. All right. They are relentless in their pursuit. They function with a sense of urgency. They function with a sense of urgency. This thing is important. It's vital that I carry this thing out. I can't wait. I can't wait. Waiting could be the difference between me being able to eat and not being able to eat. That's how important this thing is to me. It's vital. It's life sustaining. I gotta do it. All right. They're productive. Okay, the last one was they're diligent. This one, they're productive. They possess the power to generate new ideas and concepts and maximize existing concepts. All right. So they possess the power to generate new ideas and concepts and maximize existing concepts. Listen, uh, the Bible talks about the fact that we are made in the image of God after his likeness. So that means that I possess the same ability that he did because he's my father. So I can generate ideas. I can create ideas. I can create concepts. And listen, I want to say this. I want to say this. If you're watching this, you're a young man, you're a teenager or whatever, or you're a young man in your 20s or whatever. Um, you're not too young for this stuff to work for you. You're not too young for this stuff to work for you. We just did a powerful study on David, and David was probably somewhere in the age range of maybe 12, 15, 16 years old when he defeated Goliath. And here he was standing around all these grown men who were afraid to go out there and fight this giant. He was courageous, though. I talked about that. He was courageous. Listen, you, no matter what your age is, you have the ability of God on the inside of you. That means that you have generating creative power on the inside of you. All you got to do is make up your mind that you're going to use that power and be who God created you to be. You can find out what your purpose is at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. You can do that. You can do that. Listen, anybody that tells you otherwise, don't listen to that because that is not the truth. That's not the truth. If David found out what his purpose was at that age, you can find out what your purpose is at that age as well. All right. So you possess that productive ability, the power to generate new ideas and concepts and maximize existing concepts. I like that one too. Maximize existing concepts. Again, if you're a young person right here, right now watching, young man watching this, man, there are so many. Don't get overwhelmed and get to a position where you're saying, okay, I don't know if I can create anything new. I mean, is there anything new under the sun? Actually, there's not. The Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun. But you can maximize something that has already been created, and it can look like brand new. It can look like brand new. The person who came up with dental floss, as we know it today, a lot of people think he invented dental floss. Well, they used to use thread silk, and pick their teeth with thread silk. He just maximized or modified something that was already existing through innovative thinking, and he came up with another creative way to use something that's actually more user friendly for us. But that's what we're talking about, though. We're talking about even taking existing things and maximizing them, making pulling everything out of that thing and making it more usable for the people that are in existence today. You understand what I'm saying? I hope y'all get what I'm saying, man. Listen, I'm fired up, y'all. Prosperous. That's the last characteristic that I have of an innovator. They're prosperous. They possess the power and the ability to flourish wherever they are planted. All right. They possess the power and the ability to flourish wherever they are planted. That means that you can drop this person off anywhere in the world, almost anywhere in the world, and they can still become what God created them to become. I said almost, I was joking. But that means that you can literally drop that person off anywhere in the world and they still have the power to become what their purpose is and what God gifted them to become. And that's for you too, man. You young man that watching this tonight, man, that is for you. Wherever you're planted, you know what that does? That dispels the whole rumor or myth that because you grew up in a certain neighborhood, you're only going to amount to a certain thing based on what that neighborhood says you're supposed to amount to. I can give you testimony after testimony about people who came out of horrible neighborhoods, horrible situations, and still became successful. And I'm not just talking about the means to success that we think about when you're coming from certain hard areas like basketball or football or sports period or rapper or actor. I'm talking about somebody coming out of a certain kind of neighborhood and becoming a lawyer or a doctor or a dentist, something that required them to just hone in on what was on the inside of them and become something other than what their environment was saying they should become. All right. So that's what I'm talking about. That's that characteristic there. All right. So that's innovative thinking, y'all. It's essential. All right. Number four, my last point. Number four, what I learned from the pandemic is how to take back the power to determine my own outcome. How to take back the power to determine my own outcome. All right. And I got a few keys here. I think I got about 6 keys here that I want to leave with you. as I close out. I got 6 things that I want to leave with you. And we're talking about how to take back the power to determine my own outcome. So in other words, that means taking it out of the hand of somebody else. Taking it out of hand. Don't let anybody else control who you're supposed to be. All right. Now listen to me. I'm not talking about disrespecting your parents. I'm not talking about anything like that. Your parents tell you to do something, you need to obey them and honor them and do what they tell you to do. I'm talking about people who would speak things into your life that don't line up with the purpose and the intent that God has for you. That would demean you, that would belittle you, that would make you feel like you're less than who you actually are. Statements like this, and their statements. This is probably the worst that it can get. What I'm about to say, but I want you to understand what I'm talking about. Just any statement that would suggest that you're limited in terms of what you can be and who you can be. Don't accept that. Don't receive that. What I learned in this pandemic is that I have the power. I have the power to take back, I can take back the power to determine my own outcome. The Bible says in it's in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. It says, "This book of the law will not depart out of your mouth, but you should meditate therein day and night, so that you can observe to do according to all that is written therein." Why? So you can make your own way prosperous and have good success. So, in other words, prosperity is up to me. Whether or not I prosper and how I prosper is up to me. So I'm not going to allow people to speak into my life that would try to control how far I can go and what prosperity looks like for me, which leads me to the first key that I want to tell you about. Determine the end at the beginning. Determine the end at the beginning. In other words, get a picture or an image of your dream fulfilled or what success looks like for you. Now I'm gonna tell you why this is powerful and why this is important. Because when you get that picture, when you get that image, anybody that comes to you now and says something other than what that picture shows for you, you already know right there. Oh, you don't know. You must not have been informed. I'm going here. I'm not staying here. I'm getting over here. I'm not gonna remain here. I'm not gonna be held here. I'm not gonna be trapped here. So you just weren't informed. It's okay though. It's okay. You just didn't know. You just didn't know. There's a boldness that'll come on you. When you hear somebody telling you something like you ain't gonna amount to nothing, your daddy didn't amount to nothing. Oh, well, I'm not my daddy. You know what I mean? I love him, I respect him, I honor him, but I'm not my daddy. So don't compare me to anybody because I'm a unique person made in the image of God with the same ability that God has. Unfortunately, maybe that person you're comparing to me didn't understand that about himself, but I happen to understand that. So I'm gonna move forward because I got a picture, I got an image. I have seen the end right here at the beginning, and I'm going there. I'm not going to be stopped. My GPS is already locked in, and I'm on turn by turn system. When I hear the Holy Ghost tell me to turn left, I'm going left. And he says turn right, I'm turning right. I'm not going to be stopped. That's the first thing you got to do. The next thing you got to do, you got to identify your purpose, or at least start with your passion. All right, identify your purpose, or at least start with a passion. Be authentically who you are. Use what you've got. I like to say go to your low hanging fruit. What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you're good at? You can start with that. That's fine. That's fine. Sometimes you can start with that, and you'll find that that's actually within your purpose. But sometimes starting with that, it's almost like anybody know anything about pumping a well? You may be too young to know what pumping a well is about, but when you're pumping a well, you have to keep pumping that. You have to keep pushing that pump down until the water finally comes out. What's happening is there's a lot of air in that line. There's a lot of air in that line. So every time you're pumping it, you're pumping air out of the line so the water can come up through the surface. Well, when you can function within at least what you're passionate about, if you don't know what your purpose is, that functioning in that passion can be almost like pumping that well. You're pumping everything out of you until you get to the water that's supposed to spring forth up out of you, which is your purpose. All right. But see, that's that. What it does is now you're creating a habit of diligence or hard work or a routine that it will be conducive to what your purpose is. So your purpose can recognize, okay, he's got the work ethic, he's got everything in place. So now I can go ahead and spring forth so he can see exactly who he is and just become that person. All right. You see that I've seen that before where people go to college and they declare a certain major, they work real hard, get good grades, but then by the time they graduate, they're saying, "Oh, you know what? That's not what I'm supposed to be at all. I'm not even happy doing this anymore. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing." And I think they're identifying with who they really are, but they prime that well. They prime that well. They pumped all that air out of there so that their purpose is spring forth. All right. So next thing, read more. I'm gonna say, listen. If I'm talking to young men, I'm telling you, I hated reading with a passion. I hated reading. Anybody know anything about Superman and Kryptonite? Books were like kryptonite for me. I ran from them. I did not like reading. I liked knowledge. I like to know things, but I just didn't like to read to know. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. But you got to be willing to read. You got to be willing to learn something new every day in order to expand who you are and maximize what you've got. All right. It's important for you to get that wisdom. It's important for you to get that knowledge so that you can gain an understanding so that you can go further than where you are, than where you probably can even imagine you can go. All right. But let's move on here. Next thing is you got to set goals. All right. Set goals that are believable, achievable, and doable. All right. Set goals that are believable, achievable, and doable. Don't reach for the pie in the sky right away. All right. Listen, I told you before, the first point is you got to paint a picture of what you want to be and where you want to go. All right. But don't lock into that to the degree that you're going to try to function at that level right now. Your work ethic needs to be at that level. But where you are is going to take incremental steps to get there. All right. So set short-term goals that are believable, achievable, and doable. All right. Take those steps. Take those necessary steps. When you're if you're trying to bulk up, young man, you want to play football, you're trying to get bigger, you're trying to get to the place where if you're playing football and you want to be a full a tailback or a running back, you want to be able to plow through that line and have people just hanging off of you, but right now you're about 120 pounds soaking wet, you know, that is that's not gonna happen right now. So you're not gonna be able to go in the gym and get up under 250 pounds if you've never been able to lift 50 pounds. That's what I'm talking about. You might have to start with 45, maximize that 45, go back to the gym, try 55, maximize that 55. Keep going up 10 pounds at a time until you get to that 250. And then when you get to the place where you get in that, you get behind that line of scrimmage, you can plow through that hole and you're gonna have guys hanging off of you. But that's what I'm talking about. Set goals that are believable, achievable, and doable. All right. And then execute. All right. And then next point, I'm almost done here. Find your motivation. Find your strong reason to act. Your strong reason to act cannot be it can't be circumstantial. Okay? It can't be circumstantial. I'm gonna share this. This is something about my son. It's not too much detail, but my son was telling me that he thanked God for basketball because basketball helped him to stay motivated to get good grades. But in the pandemic, his basketball situation got shut down. And when it got shut down, he didn't have that as his motivation. And when he didn't have that as his motivation, he didn't have any motivation. You got to be able to find motivation that's not circumstantial. That's not based on whatever the circumstances may be. You got to find motivation that's from within or based on your goals. What's your picture? What's your image that you want to achieve? Work towards that. That use that. Don't use something that's circumstantial. All right. And then the last point here that I want to tell you, and underneath point number 4, which is how to take back the power to determine your outcome, is be willing, be unwilling. I'm sorry, be unwilling to give up. Make quitting synonymous with death. Be unwilling to give up. And I'll say, in addition to that, don't accept failing as failure. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Nelson Mandela. He said this. He said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn. One of the problems that I see, particularly in young men, is that when they fail, they quit because they think that was a failure. They think they can't go back into the game. But what he's saying there is, if you happen to fail, that doesn't make you a failure. It gives you an opportunity to learn from your failure or from what you didn't do right, so that you can go back to the drawing board, correct that thing, and then hit it harder the next time, so you can become greater and greater every time. All right. Listen, I hope you guys got something out of that, and I really enjoyed sharing. And hope I'll go back and look at the comments. If you have any questions or concerns or things like that you want me to address, put it in the comment section, and I'll definitely hit you up tonight. All right. God bless you guys. I can't hear you. Hey, Sister Deborah, I can't hear you.
I always do that. I'm sorry. It's like, that was so good. I said, you were all into what I've been trying to teach on my platform the
Amen.
whole year about goals, about believing in yourself. You got to have that passion.
Wow.
All that
Wow.
stuff was
Amen.
just excellent. So you were right on it.
Thank you.
Right on it. And I love all the under your point 3, under the innovation, the being imaginative, courageous, diligent, productive, and prosperous. I mean, that's, wrap that up and put a bow on it and put that under the Christmas tree. That's a gift.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was great. And like Antoine said, if you have any questions that you have of him, please put those in the comments and he will respond back to you. Please go ahead and share, because anyone that missed this, they missed a treat. But before you leave, I do want you to share with us what you have going on. You got something going on new on Mondays?
Yeah. Herb Ford, a good friend of mine. I've been knowing him since I was a kid. We have a show along with another good friend of mine, Pastor Durant Johnson, on Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Faith Always Works, and we take about 30 good minutes in the evening, and we just really dissect faith, open up the Word of God, and just talk about what God expects us to have and how He expects us to live. And it's an exciting time. That's that's on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yes. And if you and just keep follow me on my page. I have a personal page, Antoine J. Brown, because I have things coming up. I got a series of webinars I'm going to be starting in 2021 called Liberate. And it's going to help you to move from obscurity to necessary. So I look forward to seeing you guys there, and definitely keep supporting Sister Deborah Smith and what she's doing. She's doing an awesome work. I've been looking at it, and I tell you what, it's awesome what you're doing.
Thank you so much. And for everyone, he talked about reading. Now I have a gift that keeps on giving. My book, Build Your Best Life. You can go on my website, www.buildyourbestlife.org, and get that in time for Christmas. It will make a great gift for your youth, your young adult, for your husband, because this book is for educators, for parents, grandparents, mentors. It is for everyone. So www.buildyourbestlife.org, and don't forget Mr. Brown on Faith Always Works on Mondays at 6 p.m. And thank you so much. And tell Darian have a wonderful broadcast.
Get out of her way. Good night. God bless you.
All right. Good night.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. And if y'all want to go ahead and take a quick break for about 5 minutes, we will be back on at 7 p.m. with Denver Pratt. And you don't want to miss them. This man has an awesome story to tell you. So please come back at 7.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.